Welcome to the Explainer. So, if your home has ever felt like, well, a total battleground over phones, tablets, or gaming consoles, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving into a really cool evidence-based system for building a family digital wellness plan that actually lasts. And the best part? We're finally going to move way beyond just arguing over a single screen time number.
Okay, let's start with a scenario that might hit a little too close to home. Picture this, right? It's Sunday night. The family sits down, and you create this incredibly strict screen time plan. The rules are super detailed. No phones at dinner, no video games until homework is done, absolutely no social media after 9, and all devices charge out in the hallway. Sounds perfect, right? Well, the plan lasts maybe 3 days. By Wednesday, a parent is answering work texts at the dinner table. Thursday rolls around, and a kid's homework literally requires watching an online video. Friday, the teenager stays up late texting a friend who's having a meltdown, and by the weekend, total chaos. Everyone's arguing about exceptions, what's fair, and who broke the rules first.
So, why did this plan completely fall apart by Wednesday? I want you to really think about why this incredibly familiar scenario happens. Because the problem definitely wasn't a lack of caring. It's just that, well, real life is messy. The issue was that the plan was built as this rigid list of prohibitions instead of a flexible, dynamic system actually designed for the unpredictable chaos of our daily lives.
To build a sustainable plan, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at why those old screen time rules fail. Then we'll talk about values and the 5 C's. After that, we're building the actual family plan. Then we'll cover how to manage real life around screens, and finally, we'll wrap up with trials, reviews, and fostering autonomy. Let's dive in.
All right, Section 1. Why screen time rules fail and how we need to shift the paradigm.
Look at the contrast here. The old way is completely obsessed with total minutes. It's all about asking how many minutes are allowed and throwing around rigid bans like, phones are destroying this family. But the new way? It flips the script entirely. It begins with what you actually want to protect. See, the goal isn't just less technology, like it's some abstract trophy. The goal is to carve out and fiercely protect the parts of life your family truly values. We're talking about sleep, learning, genuine connection, and just living in the real world.
Moving right along to Section 2, Values and the 5 C's. It's a whole new lens.
Now, time obviously matters, but time alone absolutely cannot tell you if a digital experience is healthy or toxic. I mean, an hour of creative, collaborative learning is vastly different from an hour of late-night doom scrolling or comparing yourself to strangers online. So the American Academy of Pediatrics asks families to look through this specific lens called the 5 C's. That's child, content, calm, crowding out, and communication. Honestly, a plan that skips these questions might cut down screen time, sure, but it leaves the real underlying problems totally untouched.
And let's zoom in on one of the most brilliant concepts in this framework, crowding out. Basically, what is disappearing when media use expands? Is it sleep? Are they not moving as much? Is homework sliding? What about face-to-face conversation or just being outdoors? Focusing on what's getting crowded out beautifully shifts the conversation. We go from just frantically tracking minutes on a clock to evaluating the overall quality and balance of a child's entire day.
Okay, Section 3. This is where we get to the core solution, building the family plan with a 12-part framework.
This 12-part framework is a total game changer. Rather than just lazily setting a timer, you actually start by choosing your priorities, mapping a baseline of current tech use, and applying those 5 C's we just talked about. From there, you build observable rules, create protected routines, commit to adult modeling, and configure the actual tech settings. And you finish the whole shebang by designing transitions, defining exceptions, choosing how you'll measure the outcomes, and then running a 2-week trial before you review and revise. Let's zero in on those rules for a second. Vague rules, like just saying, use your phone less, are a disaster. They fail because they don't actually tell the child what to do, which just leads to endless, exhausting negotiation. A clear rule, on the other hand, identifies the time, the place, the purpose, the device, and the exact expected behavior. So instead of a vague, no phones at night, a concrete, observable rule sounds like this. All family phones charge in the kitchen from 10 p.m. until morning. Boom. Both the parent and the kid can instantly tell if that rule was followed. No arguments.
Another massive pillar here is establishing protected routines. Look, families literally must protect basic biological needs and face-to-face connection before even negotiating entertainment time. Sleep has to be protected first. You do that by creating device stopping points that actually allow for a decent bedtime routine. Meals and face-to-face time, those need to be predictable and totally screen-free. And this is absolutely crucial. We have to separate schoolwork from entertainment. Because if your rule treats doing online math homework exactly the same as playing a video game, that just creates total confusion and it feels incredibly unfair to the child.
All right, moving into Section 4, managing life around screens. We're talking adults, off-ramps, and exceptions.
Notice how adults absolutely have to be inside this plan. A framework that micromanages the kids but completely exempts the parents? Yeah, that loses credibility instantly. If you, the adult, have a legitimate work or caregiving need, you need to name it out loud, rather than just treating it as this silent, unlimited pass. Saying something like, hey, I am answering a work emergency, I will finish in 5 minutes and put the phone away, models healthy behavior. And look, modeling doesn't require you to be perfect, it just requires visible effort, explaining yourself, and repairing things when you inevitably mess up. Because you will!
We also desperately need to design better off-ramps. So many conflicts blow up simply because stopping is so abrupt. I mean, imagine someone just ripping a really great book out of your hands right in the middle of a sentence. That is exactly what an abrupt digital cutoff feels like to them. So instead of demanding they drop everything that very second, use a 5-minute warning. Help them find a natural stopping point, like a save point in a game, and have some realistic, actually enjoyable offline alternatives ready to go. Because removing a super high reward activity without offering an accessible, fun replacement, that just creates a really tense, angry void.
And hey, when rules are broken, which they will be, how we react is everything. We really need to move away from unrelated, angry punishments. You know, like confiscating a phone indefinitely just because a kid didn't do their chores. It doesn't make sense. Instead, we want to use related, predictable consequences. If a child uses their device past bedtime, the related consequence is a predictable loss of overnight device access for a bit. This actually helps a kid repair a broken rule and learn from it, rather than just feeling attacked.
Which brings us to Section 5, trials, reviews, and autonomy. This is how we keep the plan alive.
Okay, before you go changing any rules, you got to start with a 7-day baseline audit. Just observe the current habits, no shaming allowed. Then, you run your shiny new plan as a 2-week trial. And I really want to reassure you here, perfection is absolutely not the goal. Friction is totally expected. Framing the first plan as just a trial is huge because it prevents that overwhelming fear that every new rule is set in stone forever. Then, at the end of week 2, you all sit down for the family review.
And please, that review should just be a quick 10-minute check-in. It shouldn't feel like some massive, heavy crisis meeting. You're literally just asking 4 simple questions. What worked this week? Where did technology cause a problem? Which rule or setting needs an adjustment? And what is one goal for next week? That's it. This short, weekly rhythm keeps the family communicating and collaborating without all the drama, and it lets you tweak the plan as you go.
Over time, the ultimate goal here is gradual internal regulation, right? A child who consistently manages their responsibilities earns more autonomy. But it is absolutely vital to remember something. While parents should co-design the plan with the kids, the parents remain 100% responsible for health and safety boundaries. If you start seeing signs of serious distress, persistent sleep loss, dangerous content, or really severe conflict, a media plan alone isn't going to cut it. Technology shouldn't be the scapegoat for every deep-rooted problem. Severe risks require qualified professional support, not just tweaking your screen time rules.
All right, this brings us to the core philosophy of this entire framework. Measure the life around the screen. A stable screen time total might actually represent an incredible improvement if your child's sleep, communication, and self-control are flourishing. We aren't hunting for some perfectly controlled, rigid household. We are looking for a family that uses technology for learning, creativity, and connection without sacrificing real life.
So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this one question to chew on. What values will your family's digital plan protect? I enthusiastically challenge you to just take that first step. Do that 7-day baseline audit this week. Choose your top 3 priorities and start building a sustainable digital wellness plan that actually lasts. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible roadmap.